absolutely love what I do. Everyone here at Chubb Law, we love what we do. And the reason for that is we really feel that we're helping people. But there is one thing that none of us like to do, and it's probably the absolute worst thing or worst part of what we do. And so I want to talk to you about what that worst thing is. And so here's the scenario. You're in a really bad crash. It's not your fault. The person who caused the crash has insurance listed on the document that the police gave you. You hire us, we get in, we do our investigation, reach out to the insurance companies. We reach out to the insurance company that's listed for the at-fault driver on the police document. And what we find out is that there's no bodily injury coverage available on the policy. And so a lot of people think that if they're not at fault for a crash, they're injured, and there's an insurance company on the other side, they're good, they're automatically covered no matter what the extent of their injuries are, even if there's potentially a death involved. Most people believe that they're okay and they're going to be covered and they're going to be fairly compensated under the law. However, the reason that we hate this so much is because if there isn't bodily injury coverage on the at-fault party's policy, there really is a very minimal impact that we can make for people. And so a lot of people are surprised to hear that, right? You think if there's insurance, then we're good, but it actually matters what types of insurance are available and how much. And so in the state of Florida, the only thing that's mandated by law is that we have what's called property damage coverage, which would cover the damage to somebody else's vehicle if you're at fault for an accident. And then also, because we're in no fault state, everybody has to have what's called PIP coverage, or personal injury protection. But what's not mandated under Florida law is what's called bodily injury coverage. And so that type of coverage is what would cover you if you're not at fault in an accident and you're injured. And so the reason that this is the one thing that we hate the most here at Chubb Law, and it probably applies to any personal injury firm, is because if there's no insurance coverage for us to go get, then we feel like we're in a place where we can't really help the person who wasn't at fault and who was injured or maybe lost someone that they love. And so these are some of the most difficult conversations that we have. They're not fun, and I've had lots of these over my career, unfortunately, because there are lots of uninsured drivers out there driving around in Florida. And so if the at-fault party doesn't have bodily injury coverage in a car accident scenario, the only other source of recovery would be if you, even though you did nothing wrong, if you had what's called uninsured motorist coverage on your own policy. And so uninsured motorist coverage, or sometimes it's called underinsured motorist coverage, we call it UM coverage here in-house, that only comes into play if you're in a crash, it's not your fault, and the driver who caused the crash doesn't have any bodily injury coverage or doesn't have enough given the extent or size of your claim. And so you'd be really surprised how often this comes up. I've had conversations with new widows who have lost their husband, and I'm having to tell them that, hey, I can't even imagine what you're going through, and I can't even fathom the loss. But unfortunately, the driver who caused this doesn't have any coverage for your claim, or maybe has a minimal amount, 10, 25K, something like that. It's by far the worst part of what we do. And really, that's because we love helping people. And so ultimately, we can't create coverage on the other side.